Good evening. Good evening. I'm Larry Souter, and welcome to Stories of Amazing Grace. We're coming to you from Bixter Chapel at the Madison Church of Christ in Madison, Tennessee. Thank you for joining us online and for being a part of our live audience. And if you are in the Nashville, Tennessee area, come visit us, 630 Bixter Chapel, Madison Church of Christ, Madison, Tennessee, and we'll be glad to have you. Our theme scripture comes in Romans 8:38 through 39. I am sure that nothing can separate us from God's love, not life or death, not angels or spirits, not the present or the future, and not powers above or powers below. Nothing in all creation can separate us from God's love for us in Christ Jesus our Lord. Tonight, two guests are from Cookeville, Tennessee. Matt and Macy Collins are the parents of three girls, Hattie, Lainey, and Davy. Matt and Macy founded the Magnolia Foundation that serves families who have lost children. The foundation was organized after the Collins family lost their oldest daughter when an EF4 twister slammed into the Cookeville area on March 3rd, 2020. And you'll meet Matt and Macy right after this.
On the way back from the beach, we were talking about baby names, and we just decided on Hattie. It means ruler of the house or ruler of the estate.
And she was
and
that.
That's what
Absolutely.
She lived up to her name. She was like perfect.
Yeah.
The Magnolia Foundation, we initially set it up as a way for us to honor Hattie. When you lose a child, there are so many things that you're not able to do with them anymore, right? Just practical things that you can't do. And so we sought after something that we could do that would bear her mark.
We really hope that it will help families feel loved and help them know that their child is not forgotten, that even though they are not physically here any longer, that they are remembered, and we recognize them, and we hope that they can feel supported even through a really dark time.
And we really do that in three ways. One is through assistance with funeral expenses or burial expenses or even cremation services. The second way is through we try to help them with access to grief counseling. And so we try to partner a family with a licensed professional counselor so they can learn how to grieve well and then grieve well in the midst of their family unit. After a loss of a child, it is incredibly easy for families to fall apart. And then the third way is through commemorative care. And there are times and days in every family's life that are important and significant in every year, and birthdays and anniversaries and holidays. And we want to come alongside of families on those days and give them something that just lets them know that somebody else cares and knows and still sees them, while also allowing them to honor their child.
Please welcome Matt and Macy. Come on up. Have a seat. Well, let's talk about your family. We got some pictures to show. Let's see the first one here and tell us about this. Who do we have here?
Yeah, so Hattie's over here on the right side of the screen. This is Lainey when she was first born. Hattie's about 3.5 in this picture. And my wife and I and Hattie over here, this is December of 19. The storm was in March of 20. And this is Lainey. Lainey's almost a 1.
Did you make those clothes?
No, absolutely
okay.
not.
Nice.
This is us last year. So this is Lainey now. And now she's 5. And this is Davy over here on the right.
Okay.
And she's 2. And this is me and Hattie going to a graduation party for some of our high school students. This is Davy doing her favorite thing, eating a sucker.
Okay. Well, tell me about Hattie. Describe her personality.
Yeah, Hattie was uniquely good. We've got 3 girls, and Mace will tell you we love all of them.
And all of them they're good kids.
But they're all
of them are
different
good kids.
personalities.
They're all different personalities. She was uniquely good. Didn't have to get on to her. Rarely, if ever, had to correct her. And she was just really, really, really good. And loved being a big sister. And was Macy's sidekick and all of that, you know. And
The video said she ruled the house. How does she rule the house?
Well, when we had her, I think she was the first grandchild on either side of our families. So she embodied that first grandchild personality, and everything that we did from then on was centered around her. And I'm sure a lot of families can agree that's what happens when the first kiddo comes around. But she just loved big, and she helped us love big as well. So that kind of controlled our house was her love for everybody that she loved.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about the night of the tornado when you tucked her in.
Okay. So our routine was I would lay down with her in her bed. We would read a couple of stories. And then we would sing some songs until she fell asleep. And then I would do the sneak out game after she had fallen asleep and hope that she didn't wake up as I was creeping out of her room. So we did the same thing that night. I had read her a couple of stories, and we sang our songs. And so we were just laying there quietly like we did until she fell asleep. And so in that time after we had read our stories, sang our songs, she was just laying there, and she was looking up at the ceiling in her bedroom. And she said, and we were not talking about anything, but she said, "Mommy, I can see Jesus." And I looked at her because it was kind of an alarming statement. We, of course, talked about Jesus in our home, but that type of thing had not come up before. But she said, "Mommy, I can see Jesus." And I looked at her and I said, "You can?" And she said, "Yes. And he is wearing all white." And then she turned over and she fell asleep. And that was the last words that she said.
You believe she saw Jesus?
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely, I do. That was, she had never said anything like that before. And she asked a lot of questions about Bible stories, and she asked questions about Jesus and about God, but she had never said that before. And so we fully believe that she did, and we have hung on to that ever since.
And this was her regular routine to tell her a story or whatever before she went to bed. And then after midnight, March 3rd, 2020, you got some notification on your phone, is that correct?
Yes, I heard my phone vibrate on the nightstand beside me. And when I looked at it, I saw that there was a tornado warning, so I immediately woke Matt up. At that time, Hattie had woken up in the night, called for us. We had gone to get her from her bed. She was in our bed at that point. So as soon as I saw the warning on my phone, I ran across the house to get Lainey out of her crib. And by the time I had gotten her out of the crib and turned around and gotten back into the hallway, Matt was there holding Hattie, and we fell immediately to the ground because the tornado was there.
The house was gone, falling around you?
Everything, yeah, wiped it off. There was nothing left, and we knew pretty immediately that the storm was there, you know. And so I think one of the last things we said was like, "Hang on." And so, yeah, we lost literally everything.
Did you lose consciousness yourself? Did you go dark yourself?
We did for a period of time. There are things that I can remember, in some detail. But really, the next thing that we know, we were across the street in a different house without the girls. People had taken the girls from our arms, and so our neighbors found us, and I still had Hattie, and Macy still had Lainey, and they took the girls from us, and then they got us across the street. We don't have any real recollection of that until we came to in a house that was still standing.
And you were taken to a local hospital or to Vanderbilt, or?
Lainey was life flighted to Vanderbilt, and my wife Macy and I both were taken to Cookeville Regional Medical Center, a hospital in Cookeville. Yeah, we were all three in a hospital for about a week after the storm.
And you had a lot of response from the neighbors in the neighborhood to help you in this situation. Or
Yeah.
they were affected too, I assume.
Yeah, our whole side of the street was wiped out.
Really?
And this right across from us, I mean, just a very regular neighborhood road. Those houses, some houses were damaged, but they were all standing. And so our neighbors, they all came out and got everybody where they needed to go. And some tore a door down in a house that was still standing and made a stretcher for Macy and took her off and picked me up and put us in a pickup truck and just tried to get to the hospital. But yeah, our neighbors took care of us.
When did you know that Hattie had passed?
My father and Macy's dad told us that evening in the hospital. They had gone to identify Hattie with the people who were operating kind of a triage center, not at the hospital. But we knew that whole day. We knew. One of the things that I can remember is as soon as the storm hit, I can remember yelling Hattie's name as loud as I could, and not hearing a response. And I could hear Lainey crying, but I couldn't hear Hattie. And so all day long we knew. Nobody had told us, but we knew. And then our fathers came in and told us that evening.
How did the church offer help and support?
Every way imaginable. I mean, by the time we left the hospital, we had clothes, we had shoes, we didn't have any. And so everything you can think that you need, we needed it. And our church took care of us in those ways, in really practical ways, with clothing and, with toiletries, deodorant, and toothbrushes. I mean, all the things that you just need, they took care of us in those ways. And they just came and sat with us a lot. Just a host of people at the hospital, just coming to sit. Several came to pray with us. And so, it was the church who took care of us. And it wasn't just college side. It was really, churches from Cookeville, but really from all over, that took care of us. And in so many ways still do.
Were you employed by the church at the time?
Yes.
What was your position?
I was the youth minister there. And we had been at that church for about 2 months.
Really?
And so we were pretty new, not new to the area. We had been in Cookeville for about 5 years previous, but we were new to this congregation. And so, and just knew just a few people. I mean, you can imagine what the first few months of ministry is like. You're trying to meet everybody. That's the stage that we were in. Macy had some relationships with some people there through the school system, through other teachers that she had worked with, and so we knew a few people. But really, it was a whole new group of people, and those people are so dear to us. And really, in that moment, they didn't know us, and we didn't know them, but they took care of us in so many ways.
You were employed at Rivergate for a while, years ago?
Yeah, my first job out of college was at Rivergate.
Okay.
Yeah, I had interned there in college, and then right out of college, they were looking for a youth minister, and so we got to our first work was at Rivergate for about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about Hattie and Magnolia trees.
Okay. So before the storm, it could not have been long before. I don't know exactly the time frame, but before the storm, I was driving in the car around Cookeville with Hattie and Lainey in the car with me, and we were just running errands, something simple. But Hattie asked me if we had any magnolia trees in the area, and it was an odd question because we're not plant people. We did not have plants. We've never taken care of plants before.
We didn't have a tree at all.
There were no trees in our yard.
We have two out front here.
Yeah.
So plants were not a topic of conversation for us. But nonetheless, she asked out of the blue if we had any magnolia trees in the area. So I said, yes, we do have some around here. And the next time I see one, I'll show it to you. But I never got the chance to show her. So that conversation had slipped my mind. But on the day of Hattie's funeral, we were given 4 burial plots. Someone donated those to us at a cemetery in Cookeville. And we know a little bit more about that now, but at the time we did not know who it was, and we still don't know who actually donated those. But nonetheless, someone donated them to us, and we were thankful to have them. We did not go see them before we accepted and said, yes, we will take them. So on the day of Hattie's funeral, when we went to the graveside, we showed up there for the first time along with everybody else for the first time. So as we were driving up, I noticed right where our burial plots are 4 magnolia trees right next to the graveside. And so as soon as I saw them, I remembered that she had asked me about magnolia trees not that long ago. And so I told Matt about that. And so since then, the magnolia has been a symbol for her. It's one of those things that God has given us to hang on to. And so that's where the magnolia comes from.
And that's the middle name of one of your daughters.
Yes, Davy, our youngest, her middle name is Magnolia.
Wow. Let's talk about one of Hattie's friends, Izzy. Tell me about Izzy.
Yeah, Izzy's a girl that was in our youth group, and Hattie was really shy, just generally a pretty shy character in public. At home she was not, but in public she was. But she developed a really special bond with Izzy when she was coming through our youth group in high school, and they were just friends, like little buddies, you know. And Izzy was real sweet to Hattie, and Hattie loved to see her and talk to her and play with her. And when we were at church, she would, Izzy would always come over and talk to Hattie and seek her out. And we've got several pictures of them together, and so that she was just somebody that Hattie connected with in a way that she really didn't try to talk to a lot of other people. She kind of had Izzy as her friend, and the rest of the youth group, they were just kind of Daddy's big kids, but Izzy was her friend. And so Izzy was real special.
And there was a scholarship developed as a result of this friendship, or tell me about that.
Well, she's graduating on Friday from nursing school at Tennessee Tech. But after we lost Hattie, we had a tremendous amount of support from just the staff at the hospital, and the nurses were so great to us. And so we knew we wanted to do something that would honor Hattie. And so the first thing that came to our minds was to endow a scholarship in the nursing program at Tennessee Tech. And so we did that. And so there are 3 students now at Tech that have the Hattie Jo Collins Memorial Scholarship in the nursing department. Yeah.
Tragic loss. Did you ever ask God why or blame God?
I don't know. I don't know that why would be like the appropriate question. I don't know. That asked a lot of questions. I just been really sad.
Sure.
Just been really sad.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I'm sure, if I were to go back and dissect every thought, I'm sure I had, why sometimes, but that was not a prevailing thought for me. Personally, it just been really sad.
Does it get easier as the years pass?
No, it's different. We can function, we can move, but it's not easier. Somebody once described grief to us as like a box fan that you put in front of your face and you turn on full blast. And when you do that, you can't breathe. And then there are some days where the box fan is maybe on that seat right there, and you can still feel the breeze, but you can move. And there are some days it's right in front of your face and you can't breathe. That has seemed to be pretty appropriate of a description. There are more days than not where the fan is on the chair. You always feel the breeze. It's always there. Our ability to breathe and to function is different now, certainly, than it was on March the 3rd, 4th, 5th of 2020. But I wouldn't say it's easier. Is that
Do
fair?
each of you grieve differently?
Yeah.
How so?
Yes. I would say that Matt has been able to be more vocal about our story and about grief and about Hattie and the things that have happened. And I think that is just his personality to share. And he, in his line of work, he's spent a lot of time sharing various things. So that has come more naturally for him to share.
Do you keep it in?
I would default to that. And that's just my personality. And, of course, with each other, we share differently than we would be sharing to the public or to someone else. But I would say that he would be more able to share openly than I have been.
What phrase or statement do you not like to hear from people when they think about Hattie and her death? And also, what would you like to hear?
I think in general, I won't say specifically about our situation with Hattie,
Right.
but generally speaking, I have come to hate the phrase, everything happens for a reason. I don't believe it. You can't give me a reason that a tornado tore down our street at 1:45 in the morning. And so I hate that phrase. I think it's wrong. We had somebody shot us a message on Hattie's birthday a couple of years ago that was really good, a good thing for somebody to say to us. And it was just a buddy of mine that we've become friends since the storm. And so he may have met Hattie once or twice. But on her birthday, he shot us a text message and he said, "Hey, tell me something about Hattie that's really cool that I don't know." And so we were sitting there and we got to talk to each other about some stories of Hattie that we loved, and we got to share those stories with him. And that was something that was really good for us, and we appreciated that. And so when people, if they ask, "Hey, I want to know something cool about Hattie," something that I don't know about Hattie, I appreciate those comments. But trying to give answers to why questions typically doesn't go well, right? So when if somebody tries to give us an answer, we don't have answers, and neither do they. And so I know people have good hearts, but to give answers to questions like that is rarely going to be appropriate.
Anything want to add to that?
I would agree with the everything happens for a reason. That's not something that we have appreciated over the years. After the storm, someone that we know well now, but we did not know well at the time, she has been so purposeful about remembering Hattie. She has sent us gifts on important days, holidays and anniversaries, and she's sent us gifts on days that are not that important. But in all of the gifts that she has sent, she's written a little note in there, and in every note it says, "You are loved and Hattie is loved." And, you know, she's never tried to offer up some kind of advice or wisdom, but it's just a matter of her saying, "I remember you and I remember Hattie." And she's not forgotten.
When people lose a child, when a couple loses a child, there's a tendency for other people to look upon that couple and say, "Oh, they're the ones who lost a child."
Yeah.
That's how you're kind of labeled. They think of that first. You know, not that Larry is up here hosting Stories of Amazing Grace, or you live in Cookeville, Tennessee, and that's not the first thing they think of. Mm-hmm. They think of, I think, the death of the child.
Yes.
I don't know if you knew that I lost a child.
Okay.
She was 21. She was engaged, hiking with her fiance near Cleveland, Tennessee, and fell 60 feet to her death and died. We got a phone call one Saturday that happened. But for 2 or 3 or more years after that, I thought of her every day.
Yeah.
Or maybe more. But since time has passed, and maybe that's not the case with Martell, but there are days when I don't think of her, and I feel guilty when I do. I don't know if you may encounter that in future years, and then someone will say something about my child being died, several years ago, and I kind of have to regroup and think, oh yes, I did lose a child several years ago. But it's just a guilt that comes over me because so many years have passed. I don't think that's the same with Martell. She may think of Jennifer every day, but some days I don't, and I just don't feel right about that, but that does happen. Well, let's talk about the Magnolia Foundation. You established this for three purposes, I think, 3, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me what they are.
Yeah, we serve families in 3 ways to assist with funeral expenses. As you can imagine, there's very few, if any, anybody sets aside funding to bury their child, and why would you? And so when that happens, that's an immediate need that families need assistance with, and so we serve in that way. We also help get families access to grief counseling. There are, as we've talked about, but just in general, everybody grieves. It's very unique to their own personality. And so if I try to make Macy grieve the same way that I grieve, or she tries to make me grieve the way that she grieves, then that can easily develop a pretty big rift in our relationship. And so we want families to learn how to grieve well individually, but also grieve well within their family unit. And so we think it's important that families get connected with counseling at some point in time after the fact. And the third thing is through commemorative care. And so kind of like Macy was describing with the friend of ours that has been really intentional with us, we seek to be intentional with families who have lost a child. And so on important days throughout the year, so birthdays, date of loss, holidays, Mother's Day is coming up next week, we want to make sure that families know that there are people out there that haven't forgotten, and that they are loved and their child is loved. And so we mail them something to put in their hands so that they can have some assistance in honoring their child, but also know that they're remembered. And our experience after the storm was we were supported by so many people, church people, but we never encountered an organization that supports families who have lost kids, and we have come to realize that that some of those things are out there. But our experience was our help came from the church. And as you know, there are so many people in this world that lose a child that don't have a built-in community, don't have a faith family to walk alongside them and help them with that burden. And so we decided that would be us. And so we connect with families. We have new families that come in every single week, primarily through hospitals. We've had, I believe, two new families have come in today that have lost a child. And so hospitals, when they are serving a family and they lose a child, then their social work department will connect with us and we'll begin the process of trying to serve that family.
And how's the organization been received? If you have some stories about people who have lost a child and how appreciative they are, perhaps, of the foundation?
Yeah, I mean, the people that we talk to and that we work with, they, for the vast majority, really have nowhere else to go.
Is this unique? Are there any other organizations like this?
Our understanding is that there are a few like this, but they're pretty specialized. And so if you have cancer, there are places that can assist. If you have like CHD, heart defects, there are places that can assist. But really after that, we're kind of the first line there. And so we get a lot of traumatic, sudden death situations. We do get some of the other cases, but a lot of our families, if you go through the ER and things like that, it's going to come to us. And so we started last year, and with really no intention of quitting our jobs and beginning to do this, but the response was such that we had to make a decision. We either continue to do what we're doing and do this on the best that we can, but as something we do just when we can, or we jump in head first and serve all the families. We never want to say no to a family, and so it meant that we needed to do this full time, and so that's what we decided to do. And so to this point, every family that's come in that has needed help, we've been able to help. We've not had to say no, and so that's been really special.
How many families have you helped?
This year alone, I mean, from January 1st to today, the end of April or the beginning of May, we've been connected with a little over 30 families. It's a couple every week. And there may be a week, like 3 weeks ago, we had no new families come in, and then we've had 6 families in the past 2 weeks. So, but yeah, we connect with new people constantly. Primarily in Middle Tennessee and in Tennessee in general, but there's also families in Kentucky and some surrounding states as well that we've connected with.
How many people died during that tornado?
In Cookeville, 19.
19. I think we have a shot of some crosses here that reflect that. See if we have any questions or comments from people in the audience here.
How are you guys funded?
Yeah, so great question. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we are funded primarily by individuals. We have a few churches that contribute, and we have a few organizations, businesses that contribute, but the vast majority of our funding comes through families, people, individuals that want to contribute, and so that's how we're funded all the way, like us individually, and also how we operate is through donations.
So has it been around long enough to wrap your mind around an annual expense? Hey, we're going to need to bring in X amount.
Yeah.
Have you guys been doing it long enough to try to dial in to see what that might look like in a year?
So we started last year, And after we started, for some time, then we decided, okay, we need to make a decision about what we're going to do with our employment. And so January 1st of this year was when we went full time. So this is our first year of us being supported along with serving the families. We had, I'll say we had an idea. We thought we had an idea on January 1st. And we had a plan, we had a budget and a projected number of families that we were going to serve. That number we have found out is what we projected is significantly lower than reality. And so we've had to make some adjustments. But really kind of the thing that we've kind of thought and said out loud even is, well, in order to keep doing this, we have to raise a lot of money, so let's just raise more money. Our goal is to be able to serve every family, and so we serve from birth to 18. And so anything that happens pre-birth, miscarriages, we're not able to assist with. Adult children, we're not able to assist with. But we want to be able to continue to say yes. And so what we thought we were going to serve, on January 1st, that's not the reality. It's a lot more than that. But we want to keep saying yes. And so that's what we're going to try to do. But we have some ideas, but we continue to be short-sighted probably in those.
Do you have a office facility somewhere?
Yes. There's a counseling center in Cookeville that has an office space that we utilize right now.
Did the College Side Church help you out for a while?
Yes.
To get started?
Yeah, College Side owns that building, and so they gave us the office.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you doing now with your grief? I noticed you have Hattie written on your arm.
Yeah. I've got a tattoo of Hattie's name in her handwriting. This was, I guess I'm not wrong about this. This is the only thing that we have from that house was a Christmas card that she wrote to Santa.
Really?
And it made it through the storm. And so
There's no photographs?
No.
Really?
We have a couple of totes in our garage. People went through our lot and they put stuff in there that they thought was ours. We've never been through them. But literally it's just a couple of totes. And so the only thing that we have held on to is a letter to Santa. And so I took that in and it was her handwriting. She wrote it out. And so I got her name in her handwriting on my arm. Yeah. I don't remember what your original question was.
Your tattoo on your arm.
Yeah.
Good answer.
You asked about how we were doing.
It's a good answer.
That was your question.
Thank you.
Doing. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now I forgot where I'm going.
Yeah.
Any more questions or comments?
Yeah, I have one. When you talk about the finances, I would be interested in knowing the age range. I know we go from birth to 18, but the numbers of the children in those ages you have seen in the last year.
Yeah.
Are they? I worked neonatal intensive care at one time in my career, so of course I saw more of that, and wondered, do you see more of the infants than you do the older?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It trends significantly younger.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you mentioned people coming and sitting with you, but your house was destroyed. Where are they sitting when they're sitting with you?
We were in the hospital.
Oh, at the hospital. That's
Yeah.
what I wondered. So
Yeah.
how long were you there in the hospital?
We were in the hospital for a week.
Okay.
And then we left. When we left the hospital, we moved in with Macy's parents in Mount Juliet. And so, of course, we had nowhere to go. And so we went there, and people came to Mount Juliet and just to sit or to bring us a meal and sat. So, yeah. But yes, significantly younger, the families that we see.
When a newborn dies or one that's fairly young, people would say to me, how in the world do you stand the, constant turnover type of thing or the deaths? And my response was always, the dignity that's needed. And like you say, the communication with the parents. I saw parents sometimes get mad at the time of that death. I mean, become enraged
Yeah.
at that time. And it was hard always. You felt bad, but you always knew you needed to be there for them. So I appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
Has your marriage been strained as a result of Hattie's death?
No.
Has it affected one way or the other?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, Mace can speak from her perspective, but I mean, we never had to have a conversation like, what are we going to do now? But Lainey was sitting in front of us, you know, and we were committed to our family being a family and the very best version of what we could be, you know. And so Lainey needs a mom and a dad, and Davey needs a mom and a dad who love him and take care of him and don't give up on him, and who have birthday party. I mean, Lainey's birthday is 2 days after we lost Hattie, but she deserves to have a birthday party, you know. Parents that love her and take care of her, and so from that perspective, no. And then from our perspective, we've lost Hattie. I have zero interest in losing my wife, you know, and so I can't imagine letting our relationship breaking down. You know, we've lost enough already. So no, we've not been strained.
That amen on that?
Amen.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, I have a question. Macy and Matt, what are your roles with with this company now? What are some needs that you see coming up, staff-wise or help-wise, that you see down the pike that's going to be needed?
Well, right now it's just the two of us that are doing things. Matt primarily, because I'm home with the girls. So on the days that they are at school, I'm in the office with him doing what I can do. It's been a definite learning curve for the both of us. Neither one of us have ever been in any kind of profession that we've had to do a ministry aspect, yes. But as far as the business side of things, that has been very new to us and a lot to learn. Thankfully, our board members have skills and professions that have been very helpful to us, that we have needed. As we progress and get more families, which we anticipate will happen, we do feel like that we will need to have more hands to do the work. But for right now, it's us two, and we're making it happen best we can.
Yeah, I mean, practically with commemorative care, we connect with families multiple times a year, and we literally mail them something to put in their hands, right? If that's 3 or 4 times a year, and you have 100 families, well, that's 400 days a year, you know? And then the number continues to grow, right? And so just the ability to serve families in that way is something that I can already identify as one of our very next steps, is the ability to say, hey, we need somebody to come in here and help us just serve just with commemorative care, because those days add up incredibly quickly, you know? And so, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your board of directors.
So we have a CPA, which is great to have, and we didn't know how great it was, but boy, that's been really helpful. And but it's really people in Cookeville, and that initially took care of us.
Took care of us. Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it was who better to help take care of these families than people that took care of a family, you know. And so John Nichols is the preaching minister at College Side, and he was, in our instance, he was a guard, a gate for us. People did not get to us without going through John first, and there are plenty of people that we didn't want to get to us. And there are people that he told no that we never knew about, right? But he was really protective of us and was good in that area, John. And he leads our church. College Heights is a larger congregation in Cookeville, and John is really really wise in how he leads. He's got a doctorate in leadership, so that's really helpful. Just his expertise and knowledge. We have got a lady who's a CPA, obviously, which is just vitally important. So much of that we didn't know, and to have her has been crucial. We have one of our very best friends. His name is Zach Henson. He is, there are some people that just do everything well, and you're like, how do you do that? That's Zach. Just very creative, and he's a great brainstorm person. You can call Zach and talk to him for 35 minutes and get 17 ideas, and maybe a couple will work, but we'll give him a shot. And but everything Zach touches is great, and so we have him. We've got 8 members on our board, and all of them are uniquely gifted in different areas, from finances to leadership to creativity, and so they've all been a blessing to us.
Have y'all done any fundraising or needed to do fundraising yet, or is the board doing that, or y'all in that need yet?
Oh yeah, we are. So I would say the majority of my time is doing fundraising, whether it's going to lunch or whether it's speaking at an engagement. Every Rotary Club from here to Cookeville, I get to go to. It's what it feels like. Kiwanis clubs, all of them, But speaking at churches, I speak at a lot of churches and other organizations. I have lunch with people. Really right now, obviously we take in families, we serve families, but so much of my time is trying to raise funds. And really the scariest part about what we do is knowing that we have to raise funds, right? We have lived on a salary our entire adult life and have always known, they're not firing teachers these days, and so we knew her job was safe, and I felt pretty good about my profession. And so, to walk away from that and to know that we are dependent upon the Lord blessing us. People talk about living on faith a little bit, and I would prefer some security, right? But that's what it is. And so, we do have to raise funds, and we're having a fundraising dinner at the end of the year. And we certainly look for funds however we can get them. Yeah.
Thank you. I had one more right here. Let's make it the last one.
I think it's incredible what you guys are doing. I can't imagine how many families are just so grateful for your organization. My question was, I know Lainey was probably really young and Davy wasn't born yet, but how have Lainey coped, and have you talked to Davy any about having a sister in heaven?
Yes, we have. As of right now, Lainey and Davy only know positive things about Hattie and her life. They know that she lives in heaven and that she lives with God and she lives with Jesus, and they know her. They know her pictures. They know the things that she did, and they love her as their big sister. And for now, they are satisfied that she lives in heaven. And so that's how it is.
Lainey loves to pray before we eat dinner. And when Lainey prays, she says, "Thank you, God, for Mommy. Thank you, God, for Daddy. Thank you, God, for Davy. Thank you, God, for Lainey. Thank you, God, for Hattie." Every night.
She's very much a part of their life, even though she's not physically in it.
That's great. Thank you for sharing your story tonight.
Thank you.
You mentioned John Nichols earlier. And at the time, he was the teaching minister at College Side. He's the main guy and now.
He's the main guy.
He was impressed with your endurance and quoted from Hebrews 12, 1 through 3. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Take time this week to share your story of amazing grace with someone this week. Thank you for watching on YouTube and Facebook, and thank you for being a part of our live audience. And thank you for being here to share your story.